The night sky above Manila glowed with a soft amber haze as the AGT Manila 2025 studio filled with thousands of excited voices. Families, tourists, and die-hard talent show fans squeezed together, waiting to witness the next potential global sensation. Backstage, 27-year-old Rafael "Rafe" Delgado, a humble barista from Cebu, stood completely still, gripping the vintage microphone pendant around his neck. It was a gift from his late grandfather, an Elvis impersonator who used to say, "The world listens when you sing from the heart." Rafe had spent years singing in cafes, hotel lounges, and noisy night markets, but he had never stepped onto a stage this massive. Tonight was different. His mother and younger sister sat in the front row, wiping tears even before he appeared. They knew how hard his journey had been, working double shifts, saving every coin, and still doubting whether dreams were meant for people like him. As the producers called his name, Rafe inhaled deeply. His hands trembled, not from fear of the crowd but from fear of failing the memory of his grandfather. The stage doors opened. A flood of warm light washed over him. The judges, Simon Cowell, Lea Salonga, and Bruno Mars, looked up with curious expectation. Simon adjusted his glasses. "Tell us your name, and why you're here." Rafe's voice cracked softly. "My dream has waited a long time. I'm here to honor the man who taught me my voice. My lolo." The audience fell silent. The orchestra prepared. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. With the spotlight fixed on him, Rafael stepped forward, ready to awaken a voice the world wasn't expecting. When the music began, it wasn't loud or dramatic. A gentle guitar strum filled the studio, reminiscent of Elvis Presley's early Sun record sound. The crowd leaned forward, unsure what to expect. Rafe closed his eyes, lowering his head slightly the way his grandfather used to before every performance. Then he sang the first note. The room erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned silence. His voice had the warmth of the 50s Elvis croon yet carried an emotional depth that was entirely his own. Smooth vibrato. Deep resonance. A soul-soaked gentleness that made entire rows of people gasp. Lea Salonga covered her mouth, eyes widening. Bruno Mars nodded slowly, impressed from the very first line. Rafe didn't move much. No flashy steps. No dramatic gestures. Just raw, controlled power. His voice floated effortlessly across the venue. Every phrase carried history, Filipino pride, family sacrifice, late-night practice sessions, heartbreak, hope. As he transitioned into the chorus, something magical happened. The audience started swaying as if transported back decades, caught between nostalgia and awe. Some stood up instinctively. A few older spectators wiped tears, remembering when Elvis first shook the world. Simon leaned into his mic, whispering almost involuntarily, "This is unbelievable." But Rafe wasn't performing an impersonation. He wasn't trying to be Elvis. He was honoring him while pouring his Filipino spirit into every note. A modern, emotional revival. A bridge between cultures. When he hit the final long note, smooth, controlled, powerful, the studio shook with applause. People rose to their feet. The judges couldn't stop smiling. Rafe opened his eyes, breath trembling. He had no idea yet, but this performance would soon explode online across millions of screens. As the last note melted into the air, the audience roared with an intensity that rattled the stage floor. Rafe looked overwhelmed, slightly shaking, chest rising and falling rapidly. He had never experienced a standing ovation before, much less one that lasted longer than the ending music itself. Lea Salonga was the first to speak. Her voice cracked softly. "Rafe, that wasn't a performance. That was a tribute, a love letter. The way you carried your grandfather's spirit, nakakayak." She wiped her eyes as the crowd cheered. Bruno Mars leaned forward with a grin. "Brother. I grew up listening to Elvis. I know the tone, the swagger, the soul. But what you did? You captured all that and made it new. You didn't copy him, you honored him. And that's talent. Then silence. Everyone turned to Simon Cowell. He stared at Rafe for a full 3 seconds, completely still. The audience anticipated a harsh critique, or at least a dramatic sigh. Instead, Simon spoke quietly, almost emotionally. Rafe, in all my years judging talent around the world, I have never heard anyone sound so close to Elvis, yet so authentically themselves. That voice is not an act. It's a legacy. He paused. Your grandfather would be proud. And I think Elvis himself would be proud. The audience exploded. People chanted Rafe's name. A camera zoomed in on his mother, crying openly, clutching her daughter's hand. Rafe pressed his palms together, bowing deeply to the judges. Maraming salamat pa, this is for him. Simon lifted his hand, signaling to the crowd. Let's vote. But honestly, I think this is obvious. The atmosphere shifted. Everyone could sense what was coming next. The air thickened with anticipation as the judges prepared to vote. The crowd held its breath, sensing something extraordinary about to unfold. Rafe stood center stage, eyes glistening, hands clasped nervously. This wasn't just a vote, it was the turning point of his entire life. Lea Salonga raised her hand first. It's a yes. The audience roared. Bruno Mars pointed at Rafe with both hands. 1,000% yes. The crowd screamed louder, shaking the rafters. Then Simon leaned back, tapped his finger against the table, and smirked, the kind of smirk that meant magic was about to happen. Actually. He stood up. The entire studio erupted into chaos. Simon Cowell walked toward the golden buzzer, the iconic button glowing under the spotlight. The audience jumped to their feet, screaming. Rafe covered his mouth, already trembling. With a soft, emotional voice Simon said, "This is more than a yes. This is a once-in-a-generation audition." And he slammed his hand onto the golden buzzer. The studio exploded. Golden confetti shot into the air, swirling around Rafe like blessings from the heavens. His mother screamed his name, bursting into tears. Bruno shouted excitedly, Leah clapped with pride, and the audience roared louder than ever. Rafe fell to his knees, overwhelmed. The golden rain covered his shoulders, his face, the microphone pendant he clutched. Every sacrifice, every late night, every doubt, washed away in a storm of shining gold. Backstage crew members cried. Cameras zoomed in on Rafe's trembling smile, his tear-filled eyes looking upward as if thanking his grandfather. His life had changed in a single press of a button. Tonight, a Filipino didn't just sound like Elvis. A Filipino made the world feel Elvis again. Minutes after his golden buzzer moment, Rafe walked backstage still covered in gold confetti, breathing unevenly as crew members handed him water and hugged him. His phone buzzed non-stop, messages from relatives in Cebu, co-workers from the cafe, old friends from school. He hadn't even realized the audition was already trending online, with hashtags exploding across TikTok, YouTube, and X. Clips of his performance circulated globally. Reaction videos popped up within minutes, Americans shocked by his tone, Europeans calling him the new Elvis, Filipinos flooding the internet with pride. Even celebrity musicians reposted his audition. Within an hour, the clip had millions of views. Rafe's mother wrapped him in a tight embrace. Anak, he saw you. Your Lolo saw you. He cried into her shoulder, overwhelmed. A producer approached him gently. Rafe, your audition is becoming one of the fastest rising clips in AGT Manila history. You might want to prepare yourself. You're going viral. Despite the chaos, Rafe remained grounded. He sat on a crate backstage, looking at the microphone pendant around his neck. Lolo, we did it, he whispered. Meanwhile, Simon gave an interview outside the studio. Rafe's voice isn't just similar to Elvis, it carries emotion, heritage, and authenticity. Performers like him don't come around often. The world needs to hear this man. Back inside, Rafe stepped onto the empty stage one last time before leaving. The confetti still lay scattered on the floor. He touched the spot where he sang his first note, silently promising himself that this was only the beginning. The next chapter of his life, and his rise to global recognition, had officially begun.